Rachel, do you have any plans this year for the 4th of July? If you don't have anything figured out for that time, would you like to go on vacation with me? Go on vacation with you to somewhere? Why do you want us to go with you again? Well, when I was at a baseball game last week, I won tickets from a raffle that was held there. But remember that my husband is already gone, so it's just me right now. And so instead of just going by myself, I thought it would be more fun to have you come along with me. The tickets are for a 7-day stay in a cabin out in the mountains, and there will be ATVs that we can ride and some great hiking we can all go on. There's even a nice river that runs nearby that you can both go swimming in if it starts to get hot. Why should we have to come with you, though? You have another son and his wife as well, right? And I'm sure you could find some of your own friends to go with you, right? Well, last year I already went with those two to an all-inclusive resort. And most of my friends aren't that active anymore, so a trip like this wouldn't be something they can enjoy. You did say something about that trip back in the fall of last year. I already had a chance to go out with those two on a vacation, so this time I think it's you and your husband's turn. Sometimes I really do want to just be around my older son and you. Remember that it's almost been a year now since we've last met. You didn't come out for Thanksgiving, and you didn't make it up during Christmas or New Year's as well. So I'd love to have a week of just the three of us together so that we can all catch up a bit and grow closer. I can see that, but I'm okay without going on a trip. Well, if it's the cost of anything else on the trip that you're worried about, I'll be paying. This is not a problem with money. If we join you to go, it'll end up being just the three of us going. You, my husband, and I'm not okay with that. You don't want it to just be the three of us going? I'm sorry, but it's uncool to go on vacations with your single mother-in-law. If you'd really like us to come, have your second oldest son and his wife join us as well. But if you can't do that, then I'm not going. I've thought this for a while, but do you just hate me in general, Rachel? Did I do something that upset you in the past? Nope. And I don't hate you or anything like you've said. I already know that you have some kind of prejudice against me, though, as your mother-in-law. Well, you and I are family now since you've married my son, and so I'd like it if we could all try to get along better. And I thought us taking this vacation would give you and I a chance to become even closer and close the distance that we have had between us. Linda, there are people that fit together, and there are people that do not fit together in this world. And as for you and I, you're just not the kind of person that fits me. I don't fit for you, huh? That's right. So stop trying to force the two of us to be closer when it's impossible. I'm sorry, but it's never going to work and is a waste of time. What about me do you hate so much? If I have something that's bothering you, then I'll try my best to fix it for you. I understand that you are the kind of person that just thinks they can get along with anyone, no matter who they are. But I see you in a different way from all the rest. I know that all you are is someone who sees themselves as the most important. Is that so? And another thing is how much you judge others. I can hear you talking all the time about who is pretty and who is ugly and all of that, but I think you should stop from talking about others until you've looked at yourself. You're talking about me. Do you want people to pamper you because you're so old now? To tell it to you straight, I'm not going to give in to your ways of thinking. I think that the way you are is pretty embarrassing, so I'd like that you and I stay a bit further from one another. So this is how you've been thinking of things all along. Well, are you finally able to see how I feel about you after so long? I'm not going on that vacation with you, and I don't really want the two of us becoming any closer to one another. All right then. I guess I'll be taking my younger son and his wife on this trip. Go ahead and do that, please. From now on, don't even bother inviting my husband and I on anything else. Rachel, I'm not really okay with that. What is going on with you today? And what do you want to talk to me about now? I'm talking about the attitude you had at the funeral just a bit ago. What were you thinking back then? A lot of the other family and friends were shocked by your behavior. So you're talking about the funeral for your recent husband? Stop trying to act dumb right now. I know that you understand everything I'm mentioning to you. I was just making sure to be at the funeral without causing any issues for all of you. I was expecting that you'd come and thank me for being there still, yet now you're going to complain about me. That's because of the attitude you had there today. You had this look on your face as though the whole funeral was a waste of your time and a bother. And then the moment it was over, you bolted out of the building and went home. You didn't even manage to include yourself to any of the other family and friends there. Instead, looking at your smartphone the whole time. Well, to be honest, it was a waste of time being there. And the only reason I came was because my husband asked me to. Why should I actually have to go to a funeral for someone that I only ever met with one time before? I am thankful that you went out of your way to come to the funeral. But if you were going to come in acting like a bratty child, you could have just stayed home at that point. Well, I never wanted to come in the first place. If you have any complaints about me being there, then you go direct them at my husband. Rachel, I get that you do not like me, but when you come to an event that revolves around everyone mourning over the loss of their family and friend, you cannot act like a brat. Uh-huh. What does that mean? Don't you dare start telling me what I can and can't do now. Is it wrong for me to even warn you now? I am your mother-in-law, and I feel okay doing that with you. No, you and I are just strangers. Strangers? We are strangers, right? You and I are not related by blood. So can you stop trying to act like my mother now? It really is a pain in my butt having to listen to you talk like you're the one that raised me. I don't even remember you being the one to give birth to me a long time ago. Right. So to you, all I am is a stranger, right? Yep, I've thought that ever since I got married. Well, just like at the funeral, it seems you're going to start acting like a brat once again. Well, I hope you don't ever act this way when you come to my funeral. No, actually, I'm sure that you wouldn't even come to my funeral in the first place. Well, if you don't need me to go there, then I won't. It's all just an absolute waste of my precious time. I understand everything very clearly now. I'll join you and start to think of you as a stranger, well, from now on. Just as you've always wanted, okay? That'll be fine with you, right? Of course. I feel as though a massive weight has just been lifted off my back now. For a long time now, I just assumed that I'd have to deal with you until the day you croaked, and that I'd have no other choice. Mom, what the hell is going on? What do you want now? It's rare for you to ever message me anymore. Did something happen to my son? It's not about him. My husband is perfectly fine right now. Is that so? Well, then everything must be okay there. So then, why are you still talking to me? Is it true that you're paying for your younger son and his wife to get a new house? What? So you went and contacted me after a year of complete silence to talk about that? Well, I am paying for their new house, but what does that have to do with you? Having to pay for a brand new house to be built is a lot of money, right? That's right. It sure is a lot. I think their total has come out to $300,000. Is that for all the land as well, or just the house being built? I had been given that land a long time ago, so I'm only having to pay for them to have the new house built. You had land that you were never using before? Well, way back in the day, that land was owned by one of my family's friends, and they lived on it. But then they stopped living there for some reason and just vanished, so the house was torn down and the land was just left there. And after it was passed around for a few years, it had finally ended up in my hands. And why are you giving it to your younger son and his wife? My husband is your older son. What about us? What do you mean? I'm talking with you about how you never give us any money or anything. And you know very well about how the two of us just had our own new house built for us. Rachel, what are you going on about right now? Why would anyone give a random stranger money to help build their house? I'm not that stupid, okay? Uh-huh. You and I are strangers, right? You told me that a while back, didn't you? The reason I was willing to pay for their new house to be built was because my younger son and his wife are very close family to me. So it's all because I told you that we were strangers, that you never bothered to give us any money for the new house? That's exactly right, Rachel. We are strangers, and so I'm not going to hand you any money when we're not even supposed to really talk to one another. I was giving you the life you asked for, right? Also, last year you told me no to going on vacation with me, right? I felt as though you hated receiving presents from me after that event. But... that's the thing. It wasn't just the present that you hated receiving, but also the fact you didn't want to go with me. Well, if you really hate me as much as you said you did then why would you want to take any of my money when it's coming from me? Oh, hold on for a minute, Linda. I'd actually love to know why and how you were able to just hand them $300,000 for their new house. Not even my husband knew that you were carrying that large amount of money on you. Well, of course I had been given a large amount of money from my husband when he had passed away. But of course it wasn't just the money that he left for me that allowed me to give that kind of money away for their house. The reason I have had so much financial freedom now is due to my father. Your father? Wait, you're talking about the man you had that funeral for? That's right. Actually, my father had a pretty decent amount of money sitting around after he had passed away. And since my mother passed away around the same time my husband did, my father's money would go to me and my older brother. Uh-huh. So you're saying that your whole family had that kind of money on them? Even though the funeral for him looked so basic and all. You really are such a rude woman. Start speaking like a proper adult. The reason we had such a basic funeral is because my father's friends put it together for him. My father was a huge saver back in the day, and he hated being seen as a rich man when all he really cared about was his family and friends. So even though your father was that rich, not even his grandson, my husband, was able to find out about that? Did you all really manage to keep all that a secret from him? I made sure to tell all my kids about him and his money. I let them know that he was a rich man, although he wouldn't let himself look the part. I'm sure they never believed me when I told them that, though, because of how simple a man my father was. So my husband never chose to believe you, then? To be honest, even I didn't know about how much money my father was carrying until the days after he had passed and I had met with his lawyer. But of course I'd never had known before. But apparently my older brother knew about the money he had a long time ago. And by the way, that house being built for my younger boy and his wife is a part of what my father had asked for. So that's what's been going on. I knew something strange was going on. I never even heard about you having land that was just sitting around. Well, I didn't have anything that I could use the land for, and my brother was the one that got my father's house after he passed. I was just given that piece of land and money in the end. And since my younger son wanted to build a new house, I thought it was the perfect chance to have that land put to use. And so I considered all of that as his grandfather giving him that land to use. So, what? If you're asking about yourselves, there is nothing for you both. I only had that one piece of land and it was going to my younger boy and his wife. But because of me only receiving that little piece of land, the rest of what I got from my father was all money. They are planning on having a baby soon as well, after the house is ready. So when that baby comes into this world, I'll make sure to give them a little bit more money, as a present for bringing my first grandbaby. That's screwed up. All you're doing is caring for those two. What do you want me to say? This is all what you wanted from the start, right? But back then, I didn't think things would turn out like this. Well, if you're starting to regret us becoming strangers, then you can try and act a bit nicer towards me, and maybe I'll consider you family again. How much longer do you plan to act like a jerk towards me? Good morning, Linda. Do you think that me and my husband can come over to see you? Come on now. Tell me what's going on this time. This is the first time I've ever heard you ask to come over to my house. Well, I wanted to come over and apologize for everything that's happened between the two of us. I don't need your apologies. I'd rather just the two of us stay complete strangers, okay? I think by staying distant, it'll benefit us both. I'm so sorry for everything that I've done, though. Linda, can we take back calling one another strangers from now on? Please forgive me. Please let my husband and I back into your family. But you had told me before that it was impossible for you and I to get along, right? So the two of us becoming family again is going to be a bit too difficult, I think. And I don't want us to have to force one another to become happy together. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Really, I was looking up to you so much, Linda. I highly doubt that crap, Rachel. I'm being serious. I was jealous of you, actually. You are way older than me, yet you get to look so beautiful, like you're my age or even younger. You always got to have everyone find an interest in you. And I was really wanting to be like you in every way because you are just so perfect. So, because of how jealous you were of me, you had to act like a brat? Well, whenever I was around you or had to talk to you, I felt awful inside. So that's why I had said some terrible things and wanted you and I to become strangers. I'm so sorry about all of that. Oh, so me being around causes you to be in pain then? I'm so sorry as well for never realizing something as serious as that. Well, just like you said, it's better that you and I don't treat one another like family after all. No, I'm over all of that now. Actually, I have some problems with you being around me as well. So that's why I think you and I can never truly become family. I think that just having my younger son and his wife around will do. My son's wife and him are both very nice to me, and she loves to hang out when she gets the time to. Please just forgive me. I promise that I'll never act like a brat or say anything rude to you ever again. Oh, jeez. The moment that you learned about the money I have, you changed your attitude towards me on a dime. Do you really want the money that I have that badly? That's not what any of this is about. I just thought that maybe it was time you and I started to work towards having a closer family relationship with one another. Could you stop trying to say all that bullcrap to me? I've already heard enough about you, Rachel. You ended up having a house built that is way out of your financial zone. And so now that most of the house is complete and all the bills are being processed, the cost is a lot more than you first thought. Well, we were just given so many options to choose from when planning the house, and at some point we went a little overboard with it. We really never meant to put all our money into the house. But now with all the loans we've had to take out on the house, there's no way we're going to be able to have the kids we've wanted to have soon. I really wanted to start having kids this year, but now I'll have to give up on that dream. Well, with the way you think and act towards others, I think it's better that you don't have any kids. If you started to raise your own kids, they'd all turn out as bad as you, or would be put through hell being around you all the time. But I want them. But right now we are not able to pay off all our loans. Do you think you could help us pay for them? I can't do anything about your problems. If you're having that much trouble paying for all that house, then maybe it's time you sold the place. I don't want to sell this house. I was finally able to make the house of my dreams. I don't want this. I hate that. If you're just going to complain about everything in life, you're going to lose it all and be left with nothing. What do you mean by that? I got a call from my son. I'm talking about your husband, okay? He says that he really messed up marrying you. He said that? Well, I never heard anything from him about any complaints. He said that when you weren't able to control him like you had hoped to, you began to tear into him. And he couldn't take any more of the arguments you'd get into. And so he called me, telling me that he's begun to think about getting a divorce from you so he can end all his own suffering. A divorce? So now he plans to just throw me away? Why would he do that? Well, the problem that started it all for him was the way you acted back at the funeral for my father. Back then, he never imagined someone like you acting that way towards his own grandpa. And after that funeral, you and him got into a pretty heated argument over what had happened, right? Well, a small argument. But you can't call what happened then a heated argument. He just told me that he didn't want me acting like a child anymore around us. But then you freaked out on him for saying that, and he had to shut himself up, right? He didn't even say anything that was wrong to you. Rather, he just wanted to keep you from being a jerk to everyone else, and you took that as a chance to tear into him. And when it came to having your house built, he said that you guys wouldn't have the money for the place, but you went ahead anyway and signed all the papers allowing the start of construction. I think him getting rid of you is the correct choice now. I hate this. I'm not going to let him divorce me. Well, then you go and tell that to my son instead of me. Telling a complete stranger all of that stuff is a waste of your precious time, right? I'm asking you to please help me, Linda. I'm not asking you to give me all your father's money. But at the very least, give me enough to pay for the house, and that will be good. Remember that this money is all from my father, though. Yet when we were all mourning his death at the funeral, you acted like a complete idiot, only thinking about yourself and how little his death affected you. So don't you feel like a jerk asking me to give you some of his money when you said his funeral was a waste of your time? Fine, then I'll go to his gravestone and ask him. I don't need you going anywhere near my father's gravestone. He is sleeping quietly, and he doesn't need some brat causing him all kinds of trouble. I have nothing else to talk to you about now, Rachel, so when we are done here, don't try and talk with me again. Am I really going to be divorced by my husband? Do you not have a care in the world about what's going to happen to your oldest son and his wife? Our marriage is in danger right now. And who cares? My younger son and his wife are amazing, so only having them around is just fine by me. The divorce of a stranger and my son has nothing at all to do with me and my family. After that, Rachel continued to cry and whine that she didn't want a divorce, and even came all the way to my house to apologize, but I didn't listen. And after that, the relationship she had with my older son turned into a huge mess that was never going to be fixed. Rachel, with the little money she had left, didn't want a divorce to happen as she'd be left with nothing. But my son had had enough of her, and so the divorce could not be stopped by Rachel, no matter how hard she tried to make him feel bad for her. He ended up having the lawyer split their properties, but there wasn't much there to work with, considering that they only just had the house built, and had very little money. In the end, he was given the house since his name was on it, and he put most of his money into it, and Rachel was given just a little bit of whatever money he did have. After that last meeting, she went back home to her parents, which let her back into their house on the condition that she had a place of her own within the next 2 months. And after the divorce, my son took the newly built house that he was allowed to keep and sold it with all the furniture and everything, getting back a lot of money that immediately went into paying off the rest of the remaining loans. And once that was all taken care of, my son came to me over and over again apologizing for whatever Rachel had done to me, and for him not trying harder to stop her. And after hearing all of that from him, I forgave him. But I told him that any other woman he brought into the family would have to go through me first and be judged whether or not they could marry him, unless he wanted to be disowned for choosing another brat. However, he only replied to me by saying he had no plans to get married ever again, and that was that. I'm sure that after having a child like her around him all the time, complaining and making things all about herself, he was completely tired and found that being single is way more relaxing and good for the health.